This session today was all about what is our value. We know that we're not getting our message across. We know that people aren't involving us in change initiatives early enough. We know that senior leaders think that maybe managing change is a good idea, but probably people can do it anyway. Why do we need people to do this? Why do we need to set up resources, procedures, frameworks, tools, techniques? So having looked at the results of the Global Capability for Change survey, where people are saying, yeah, change management is valued in my organisation, but no, we're not investing in skills, we still recognise that we need to make a pitch. And that could be to anybody who's involved in projects and programmes who don't really know what we're about, all the way up to senior leaders who are sponsoring change initiatives. So I'm pretty sure that's why you came, because you wanted to talk about it too. The first thing that the bigger thought I was having, I'm in the middle of writing the Neuroscience for Change book, so I'm having to have a lot of thoughts at the moment. But it's recognizing the importance of not just we help achieve things. So clearly, we are a conduit to a change, realizing benefits at a greater level because there's greater participation, but also realizing benefits because we're realizing them earlier because we've got greater participation, people are less stressed, people are more willing to try out new ways of working. So there's a lot we do on the left-hand side of this graph to have a positive impact for the business at the end of, well, either the end of the whole change, or if it's a more incremental, agile change, at the end of every wave of change. But that isn't enough, I think, because one of the things we need to think about is, are we also responsible for an excellent experience? Dangling the carrot of, oh, the procedures will be so much easier to use. This will be a more intuitive way of working. You're going to save time. These are all great benefits to sell to people to get them involved in a change. But if they're having a truly awful experience during the change, they feel uncertain, they feel disrespected, they don't feel that they've got any ownership, nobody's asking for their opinion, they're never allowed to feed back on the ideas, then we run the risk during that experience that people at the very least become cynical about becoming involved in change, but probably get a lot more stressed and in some cases, well, withdraw their effort. They may even withdraw their effort from the organisation and look elsewhere for a job. So I think it's always for me recognizing that I've got two roles to play, and it's not just the bigger achievements and that I'm part of achieving the benefits. I've got to make sure that the people involved in change are having the best possible experience. The work that I've been doing on neuroscience for change has really hit home for me how the impact of dopamine on the experience, and every time we have a little achievement, we'll get that. But also when we feel respected, when we feel heard, when we feel that there's more certainty, we know what's happening to us, when we feel more in control, all of those things reduce our anxiety, increase our pleasure of the change. So we can create a fantastic experience. And that's quite important, I think, to highlight that as well, because I do think we've got a lot of executives who are still worried about staff turnover. And the incredible cost and disruption of talent acquisition is not something they're looking for. So whenever I'm sort of thinking about my sales pitch, I am thinking about who I'm selling change management services to and what will connect with them. Another part of the experience that I think connects is that they will score more highly in the staff engagement survey. And for a lot of executives, that is something that they are reviewed against. I've had to present results for staff engagement surveys for numerous organisations, and I vividly remember board meetings where executives feel incredibly unhappy that people in their organisation think that change is done very, very badly, mainly because they are trying to push through yet more change, and feeling that, you know, the staff aren't behind them is a big wake-up call. So that might be a pitch you want to consider thinking about when you're identifying your elevator pitch, thinking about achievements and thinking about experience. Here's another thing that I was thinking about. This is a diagram I sometimes draw up. There are a lot of limitations to it because, as you can see, there's no clear measures on here. But all I'm doing is just making the point that clearly during any initiative, we're spending money. We're investing in tangible changes. The point is we don't get any benefits until those they go into use. And there's often a gap. You know, if change isn't managed, if it's accidental, we've got a whole team over here who are spending the money and creating the deliverables. And they kind of throw it over the wall to all our staff who have to work in new ways and hope that somehow they'll work it out and they'll get behind it. There can often be a gap. And when they do get behind it, they're sort of trying to navigate and find benefits, as well, of course, as the stress and anxiety that causes. Whereas here, we could make the argument that actually, because of our work, people start to apply what's being created, all of the tangible changes that lead to new ways of working. They're going to find that ultimately they're more willing to get involved, that they are realizing benefits because they're making changes to their ways of working. We're likely to get higher participation rates so that the benefits are going to be higher. Now, we know that the limitation on this is that there's no measures. But again, it might be something you want to have a play with in terms of what is it that you actually create in terms of value. The next one, if you could all go, I think Mandy and Lisa, if you could go, I'm going to try and mute you because I can hear background noise. Increase return on investment is an argument that I might want to make at senior management level for those who are looking to get the most out of what they've spent, particularly on very large scale, heavy investment programs. So I might want to talk about, just as I've been showing on the previous diagram, we're going to spend the money on the project activities, but we've got to take care of the change activities. We've got to help people get to benefits being realised. Some of the things that we do is to perhaps bring forward the costs of disruption, of changing our ways of working, the cost of involvement in getting people to identify those ways of working, to practice those ways of working. So effectively what we do is that the business case then becomes fully costed, as opposed to the business case being, let's claim all the benefits, but let's only include the costs of the tangible changes, because frankly, that's the only thing that we've thought about. So also the time at which benefits come on stream is more honest, I think. I tend to refer to the business cases that haven't taken account of change management as more naive, and that's me being nice. Dishonest could be another word, because they kind of imply that the benefits are instant, and actually that's not true, and that's not what I'm going to see reflected in the figures. I want the date of the benefits to reflect the change life cycle. And I want the costs not just to include the costs for tangible change, but to include the costs of all of the behavioural change activities. Which brings me back to an age-old argument we all know, which is, oh, well, there is no cost. It's sunk costs because it's people's salaries and we're already paying that. But actually, I think there's an opportunity cost there in terms of the disruption to business as usual that we could use. I could talk about earlier return on investment, which is what I was showing with the previous diagrams. But I think I've also got some additional return on investment, one of which is corporate social responsibility. Anybody who's a director of an organisation these days is held to high account in terms of corporate social responsibility. I'd also say that we're responsible for staff wellbeing and mental health of employees. And also the additional benefit of a competitive advantage. We have enough capacity to make all the changes we want to make to deliver on our strategic objectives. If we're managing change effectively, we're building the capacity of our organisation, because effectively we're building an army of people who can lead themselves through change. So that might be something you look at. You might want to make the return on investment argument. Or finally, another one, depends on who your audience is, but certainly this one works well for me in the boardroom, which is that actually change is risk reduction. The flip side of the return on investment argument is that it reduces the financial risk, the failure to realise benefits, It reduces operational risk. We have the capacity with change to create chaos, and customers get forgotten, services don't get delivered, suppliers lose faith in working with us, we become too high a cost to work with. There's lots of issues around operational failures. When change is implemented, we haven't practiced, we haven't worked out all the kinks, we don't know what we're doing, so we lose efficiency, we lose productivity, we lose reputation, actually. So reputational risk is something else I can draw to their attention. And supplier risk. And it's hard enough to onboard suppliers these days. We don't want to upset the relationships we have. And then, of course, there's staff well-being. Under any heading you want to put, we risk it if we deliberately pile on the volume of change. We don't provide any kind of support, and as people have to change their ways of working, we know change is an emotional and a psychological process. We don't provide any support for that. Staff suffer. Hopefully this is giving you some ideas. Some of those will appeal to some of you, others will appeal to others. So just have a think about some of those things that I've said. So I'm just going to go back over them so that we get that sort of, you know, it's late and we want to have an opportunity to have a look. So there's something about the value, thinking not just about the achievements, but also the value of the experience. Thinking about the value of that experience, what happens, you know, I've just given you this visual to think about maybe the delays to realizing benefits and the lower levels of benefits. But when we manage change, that is a different story, which is picked up here on the return on investment slide, which talks about a fully costed business case. The dates are more accurate. We talk about earlier return on investment, corporate social responsibility, competitive advantage. And then on risk reduction, risk of financial risk, operational risk, reputational, supplier, and mental health risk. This led me to thinking about a structure for the elevator pitch, because in 2 minutes you're going to go into your breakout rooms and have a go at articulating what you think your value is. So I thought I'd pull something together. Doing words I thought was a helpful. So service proposition, I provide, I deliver, I ensure. And then I thought about the value. As a result of what I do, the outcome of the work that I create, the difference I make to the business. So those are all useful phrases if you want to pull together your elevator pitch. I think that we can talk about avoiding losses. Staff don't leave, faster realization and higher levels of benefits, increase in volunteerism, increase in intrinsic motivation, increase in participation and ownership. And I think we can also have a look at, we don't miss opportunities. So we build a one-team approach, we enable the co-creation of change, we mitigate risks, we reduce stress, we reduce the stress of uncertainty. So I thought this would be helpful, particularly those sorts of words about, you know, I provide, I deliver, I ensure, and also thinking in the elevator pitch for you, as Jill's just about to put you into the breakout rooms, you know, as a result of what I do, the outcome of my work is, the difference I make is. So if you want to take a quick screen print of that, feel free. Any questions? People seem to be very, very happy in the chat. Everybody's sort of agreeing that, you know, there's a lot of key points. Now it's over to you. I've given it my best shot. I've got about 7 elevator pitches in my head, depending on who I'm talking to. So not only come out with your own words in your groups, but I think it's really helpful to listen to other people, because all of these different perspectives will be relevant to different stakeholder groups in your organisation. So Jill, over to you. I'll stop recording while we go into the breakout rooms.
Excellent. I was just about to say, do you want to stop